Religion, sex, and politics are an unholy trinity. Just ask Giancarlo Granda. He was only 20 years old, working as a hotel pool attendant, when a woman invited him back to her room to attend to her. Giancarlo didn't know it at first, but this was to be a three-way tryst. He also didn't realise his new friends, a married couple, were two of the biggest names in America's evangelical movement. In fact, the husband, Jerry Falwell Jr., was also a political kingmaker who helped Donald Trump win the presidency in 2016. But the biggest surprise was the god-awful mess created when this humble hotel employee tried to expose the rank hypocrisy of these religious zealots.
We here to party, buy out the bar, popping bottles, I'm a superstar. Lovely models on the roof of my car. Put your hands up, I want to see where you are.
Miami Beach, Florida is a renowned party playground. And smack bang in the middle of the action is the luxury Fontainebleau Hotel.
The music starts kicking in, people start drinking, the pool, gets packed, and it's more of a party scene at that point. Kind of turns into like a Las Vegas pool party. People are there for a reason.
Giancarlo Granda knows all about the atmosphere poolside at the $1,000 a night hotel. He worked there as an attendant, setting up cabanas and bringing guests drinks. It was a fun and flirtatious workplace. Was there a sense that a lot of people would eye you off and say, he's not a bad-looking boy?
Yeah, especially when I was 20 years old, I was in pretty good shape. I would get some compliments.
And there was one woman who really took things to the next level.
So yeah, this woman, she did stand out because she was just eyeing me down.
This university's mission was to train champions for Christ.
Giancarlo could never have realised he was about to be caught up in a decade-long scandal that would expose the outrageous hypocrisy of two of America's most high-profile religious leaders.
This is the drastic fall of an evangelical dynasty.
And it's a drama that gets more bizarre at every turn. A Hollywood actor and even a US president caught up in this unholy affair. The story really is nuts, isn't it?
The story is nuts, and that's what attracted me to it. But it's a story about ultimate power, which ultimate power leads to ultimate corruption. And one man, Giancarlo Granda, one man brought it down.
It was poolside at Miami's Fontainebleau Hotel in 2012 where it all began, when Giancarlo was being hit on by a hotel guest called Becki.
And I noticed that she was taking pictures of me, which is kind of unusual. We started chatting. She told me, don't waste your time with the younger ones. They don't know what they're doing.
What did you take that to mean?
As a 20-year-old, I'm like, that caught my attention there. And I realized that, she was obviously flirting with me, and we just started talking from there.
And so I think things escalated pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, it did escalate pretty quickly. So towards the end of the shift, after we were flirting for a few hours, she made a proposition. She's like, do you want to go back to my hotel room? And obviously as a 20-year-old, single 20-year-old, I'm like, yeah, I would love to.
Becki hired a new hotel room for the catch-up, but it turned out there was more to this steamy rendezvous than a nervous Giancarlo had bargained for.
What caught me off guard was that she told me her husband wanted to watch. And immediately I kind of pulled back. I was about to say no. Internally, I was telling myself, this is weird, definitely not. But she told me that, don't worry about it. He's not going to do anything. He's just going to sit in the corner and just watch.
And just so we're clear, when he was there, what was he doing?
When he was there, obviously the audience is wondering, what was he doing in the corner? And so he was masturbating, He was masturbating in the corner.
At first, Giancarlo wrote the night off as some wild, one-off experience for a 20-year-old. Yet he was shocked when Becki followed up, wanting more action, and suggested the hotel worker go on a holiday with she and her husband.
This is where Becki just dropped a love bomb on me. You know, she's like, "I love you." And this was just a couple of weeks after meeting her, and I thought that was unusual. And at that point, I'm like, how many people do you do this with?
But an even bigger shock came when Giancarlo Googled the names of the husband and wife he was tangled up with. He was Jerry Falwell Jr., a high-profile president of Liberty University, America's largest evangelical college. All of a sudden, this humble pool attendant realised the moral hypocrisy of the married couple he'd been hooking up with.
So thank you, Becki. I couldn't do it without you.
Not only was Jerry a prominent voice in conservative politics, he was also the son of famous televangelist Jerry Falwell Sr. The patriarch was the founder of Liberty University, but better known for outrageous religious proclamations, including blaming the September 11 terror attacks on minority groups.
I really believe that the pagans and the abortionists and the feminists and the gays and the lesbians who are actively trying to make that an alternative lifestyle, all of them who tried to secularize America, I point the finger in their face and say, you helped this happen.
How would you describe the moral compass of Liberty University?
Liberty University's moral compass, spins like a top. What Liberty's leaders have done is sort of hijack key parts of the Christian faith and use them to validate a political agenda and to make themselves rich. And nothing could be more offensive to Christianity than that.
Dustin Weil is a former student at Liberty University who founded a group trying to reform the college's hardline agenda, both in terms of morality on campus and external political influence. Seems like it's almost impossible not to link Liberty University with the Falwell family, and then in turn almost impossible to not associate the Falwells with politics.
That's exactly right. The Falwells are inseparable from the school. Both Falwells saw their role at Liberty as a largely political one, if not primarily political.
Now fully aware of who he was cavorting with, Giancarlo Granda was feeling increasingly uncomfortable about his ongoing tryst with Becki and Jerry Falwell Jr. Not only that, he now had a girlfriend his own age. Yet Giancarlo claims that when he broke the news to Becki that he wanted out of their unusual relationship, he felt she tried to blackmail him.
She texted me like a still image of a video of me in the hotel room. And it was at that moment where I'm like, wait a minute, you guys were recording me. I didn't know this. I didn't consent to this. And immediately I felt vulnerable at that point. And it felt like it was, in my opinion, it kind of felt like a subtle threat. It's like, look what we have on you.
President Obama to release his birth certificate.
But just when Giancarlo thought things couldn't get any stranger, enter Donald J. Trump and a new deal with the devil.
Please welcome to Liberty University for the first time, Dr. Donald Trump.
Just as Giancarlo Granda was trying to step back from his complicated three-way relationship with famous evangelists Becki and Jerry Falwell Jr., they had a new proposition for him. The Falwells paid $8 million to buy the Alton Hostel in Miami and offered Giancarlo a 24% share in the property in return for him managing it.
Jerry said, "Whoa, why don't we set you up and start business together, and you can make your first $1 million, and then we'll all celebrate." When you're 20 years old, how can you say no to that? If you have wealthy investors who are willing to invest in you and give you equity stake in a property in South Beach, you got to take it.
There was soon another property mogul on the scene. Giancarlo was all of a sudden hanging out with then presidential candidate Donald Trump, a close friend of the Falwells.
Trump walks in with Jerry. You know, Jerry points at me. He's like, oh, that's her friend from the Fontainebleau. And Trump, obviously larger-than-life personality. He's like, oh, the Fontainebleau, I love it. And, you know, we shook hands. He signed my book. He said, Giancarlo, work hard. It was a pretty cool moment.
In the back of your head, though, are you kind of thinking, how did I end up here?
Yeah, how did I end up here? That was definitely just kind of going through my mind, but I go with the flow.
Yeah, did you have a little bit of Stockholm syndrome? Why did you keep it going for so long?
You're not the first person to say that, to mention Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, I guess there's a part of me that was kind of like, I felt like I was obligated, or I kind of had to stick with them. You know, it's just like, wow, they're doing so much for me. I gotta just, even if I feel uncomfortable, I gotta just bite the bullet and just keep going.
Mr. Cohen, Mr. Cohen, Mr.
It
Cohen.
might seem impossible, but this is where the story gets even stranger.
Are you happy?
With the arrival of Donald Trump's then fixer and lawyer turned prison inmate, Michael Cohen. When sexually compromising photos of Becki fall into the wrong hands, he helps the Falwells get them back. But then, sometime later, Cohen asks for a favour in return. He wants Jerry Falwell Jr. to become the first prominent religious leader to publicly endorse Donald Trump's presidential nomination.
Donald Trump is a breath of fresh air in a nation where the political establishment from both parties has betrayed their constituencies time and time again.
Trump announcing another huge endorsement by tweeting, "Great honor, Reverend Jerry Falwell Jr. of Liberty University, one of the most respected religious leaders in our nation, has just endorsed me."
Many students at Liberty University, like Dustin Weil, couldn't believe that their supposedly Christian college was promoting this man to be president. Donald Trump infamously said that he grabbed a woman by
I'm familiar with the clip.
I think we know. Yes, so there's that one, but he said so many things about other minority groups as well. Were their eyebrows raised that this was the kind of man that an evangelical church wanted to endorse as the president?
There were some eyebrows raised, but not enough. Falwell Jr. stood by Trump's side all throughout that and said that there was nothing Trump could say that would keep him from getting Falwell Jr.'s support.
Did Donald Trump align with Christian values in your mind?
There's nothing about Donald Trump or Trumpism that is reflected in Christianity.
History shows Donald Trump went on to win the election, in part due to huge support at the polls from the religious right.
You will be so proud of your president. You'll be so proud. And I love this country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The secret of Michael Cohen's involvement and the Falwells' nude photos remained undisclosed for years until in 2019, the story got even weirder with the intervention of Hollywood actor Tom Arnold. How does a Hollywood star like you end up involved in a story like this?
Well, it started with Donald Trump, as all the horrible stories start.
Oh, hi, Arnie.
Hey, Rosie. Where's the man of the house?
Tom Arnold became a household name in the 90s as an actor and comedian, most notably on the sitcom Roseanne. But in recent years, he's reinvented himself as an online sleuth, digging for dirt on Donald Trump.
So step up and do something or say something.
As part of that, he recorded conversations with Michael Cohen, who opened up to him in 2019 about the Falwell photographs that Team Trump had acquired during the campaign.
There's a bunch of photographs, personal photographs that somehow the guy ended up getting.
Oh.
Whether it was off of Jerry's phone or somehow maybe it got airdropped or whatever the hell the whole thing was. Even though she's a very nice figure, nobody wants their their private photos.
And Michael Cohen went to him and said, "Hey, Jerry, the naked pictures of your wife, etc. Well, I still got one of the pictures, and I need you to do me a favor for my boss. It'll really make me look good if you support him, support Donald Trump. And that's the reason, it was payback for the naked pictures.
The photos that Michael Cohen said he had, did you ever see them yourself?
Yes. The picture was very, 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 very intimate, post-lovemaking picture. And whatever, you take that as that's all I can say on your network.
Critically at the time, Tom Arnold also became aware the Falwells had struck an unusual business deal with a young man they met at a hotel in Miami by the name of Giancarlo Granda. Giancarlo was trying to move on with his life by then, but the Falwells had locked him into this business arrangement, and Becki continued to hit on him. The descendant of Mexican migrants was now also disgusted that the Falwells had helped put Donald Trump in office.
When I first met Donald Trump in 2012, I liked him, I admired him. But obviously that changed in around 2016 with his comments about Mexicans. I'm half Mexican, my mom is from Mexico. So immediately I was just kind of turned off by him. I'm like, I don't think that he should be the representative of the United States. I don't think that he should have the nuclear codes.
The Falwells thought they could keep Giancarlo silent, but little did they know he had a smoking gun that was about to expose their hypocrisy to the world.
Did Giancarlo Granda bring down a dynasty? I'd like to think so.
For the better part of a decade, Giancarlo Granda rolled with the punches as life threw all sorts of combinations at him. Nowadays, keeping active is critical in him staying in control of his mental health. But 4 years ago, he was spiralling, living in a seemingly inescapable nightmare of a controlling sexual and business relationship with Becki and Jerry Falwell Jr. Do you think the Falwells are predators?
Right, so whenever someone says grooming, you think of it has to be like a kid or something. But no, I believe anyone could be groomed for anything, right? Especially if you hold power over them. I do believe that, whatever you want to call it, they definitely manipulated me. I feel like I was used. I was in a very dark chapter of my life.
Dark is almost a kind way of describing it. I mean, you were in a bad place.
Yeah, I was definitely in a bad place. I mean, my life was crumbling right in front of me. My professional reputation, everything was just crumbling. I texted Becki. I basically said, whenever they find my lifeless body, please return my dog to my family. I wanted to get away from the Falwells. I wanted nothing to do with them at that point. But it was just all the doors were just closing.
The Falwells had made it clear that if Giancarlo raised the alarm, he'd be painted as an extortionist who'd made the whole thing up. But they didn't realise he had the proof he needed to show it was Becki who was the protagonist and Jerry was in on it all too. Giancarlo had filmed a FaceTime call from the married mother of 3 as she boasted about their wild sexual rendezvous, and Jerry was there again, watching on.
The smoking gun was the FaceTime recording from January 2019. It's case closed right there. Everything that I said, I promise you that it's all backed by evidence.
So what's Becki saying to you in that video?
She was just walking around her house with the camera pointing at her. She's naked, topless, completely naked, nothing on, and she has a glass of white wine. She was just kind of pointing at every spot that we had sex. And so do you remember that spot? And it was like the kitchen island. Then she went up to one of the kids' rooms. She's like, do you remember that? And I'm like, yeah.
She had sex with you in her own children's bedrooms.
Yeah, looking back now, it's, very weird to think about. But yes, we had sex in one of her kids' rooms. We had sex, obviously, in her, in the master bedroom. I believe that it's case closed. If you actually analyze all the evidence, it's just undeniable.
Despite his defense that it was all in good fun, Liberty University put the 58-year-old on indefinite leave.
When Giancarlo Granda finally revealed all in 2020, It made headline news around the world.
Falwell tells CBS News he believes he was targeted because...
Later that day, Jerry Falwell Jr. resigned as president of Liberty University.
This is the drastic fall of an evangelical dynasty.
Mark Ebner is a New York Times best-selling author who's now written a book on this extraordinary political and religious scandal.
They really believed that they were untouchable.
Do you think the Falwells were drunk on power?
One thing, and it's almost cliche, that Jerry Falwell Jr. said to Giancarlo when he was being courted by Trump for a position actually in his cabinet. He was being wooed, and when Giancarlo said, listen, do you see yourself as ever running for office? And how Jerry Falwell Jr. responded? He said, Giancarlo, it's better to be a kingmaker than a king. He knew his power. He knew the power of his power, but he also knew that it had limits.
Hey Jerry, it's Tom Steinfort from 60 Minutes Australia. How you doing?
Tom, okay.
Tom, nice to see you, Jerry. Jerry Falwell Jr. concedes his wife had a lengthy affair with Giancarlo Granda. But when we contacted him on Thursday, he was adamant he was never involved in the sexual relationship. But did it happen, the three-way tryst?
No. I just walked in 2 or 3 times after I knew it was going on, walked out. And that's the whole story.
But you never took part?
Never.
So why would he make this up?
Money. That's it.
A few hours after my call with Jerry Falwell, another twist. Becki got in touch, demanding her say as well. Hello, is that Becki?
Yeah, I can't do a FaceTime right now because I'm in bed.
Becki accepts she did the wrong thing, but says she's sick of her entire family being punished for it.
But the most important thing about Christianity is that everyone makes mistakes and everyone sins. And then the whole point of Jesus Christ coming and dying on the cross was to forgive the sinners for their sins. And so the whole hypocrisy thing is a bunch of bullshit because nobody is perfect. And why am I held at a different standard? Because my husband was a president of a university.
Becki Falwell is like, well, Jerry forgives me, and so that makes everything all right. Does Jesus forgive you? Does your God forgive you? Well, she probably believes that's the case, but she missed one key point of forgiveness, and that is a speck of remorse, maybe, a willingness to make amends. None of that factors in with the Falwells. And so, consequently, they can burn in hell.
After nearly a decade of mind games, Giancarlo Granda is now finally able to speak the truth about the scandal that dominated his 20s. But he says, as he enters his 30s, he's more mature for the experience and definitely much stronger. It's been a wild ride. Would you do it all again?
Dark chapters in your life, tough moments, they build character, right? So there was a point where I was in a really dark place and I regretted everything, but I realized that, look, this is out of my control. It happened. I can't really do that, but I feel like I'm a stronger person now because of it. And again, I feel proud for exposing corruption, for exposing predatory behavior, and just kind of standing up for myself. I believe that my younger self would be proud of me.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thank you for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes, which are on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.